Skies all open wide, geese go high and over. Oh, now you're a beachcomber, a fistful of sandfire, sea, lavender. See you next year.
Welcome. It's December. Christmas is very, very close. It's quite scarily close. And Chris and I are sitting in my living room in Aylsham, and we are getting excited about music, which, as you know, is one of Chris's favourite things in the world. And it's our December episode, so therefore it is our top albums of the year. Dun, dun, dun.
It is. Hello.
And these are in no particular order. They are just 9 albums that we absolutely love, and a treat from Man The Lifeboats at the end to put you properly in the Christmas mood. So, without further ado, Mr. Haycock.
Hello. How you doing?
How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right, thanks. I'm okay. How are you?
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
Yeah, good.
This is a good list.
Yeah,
I like this list.
Yeah, there have been some really good albums this year from people that we know and love, and that's what we like to focus on. So yeah, it's been lovely, and I am still an album person. I still listen to music by listening to albums, largely. You know, I'll have the radio on in the car, but that's just really to get me from A to B when I'm coming into work, but not all the time. I usually have an album on, and yeah, I've always listened to albums, and I think in these days of throwaway consuming of everything, where nobody owns any music anymore, they just pluck it out of the ether, that's just not me. It's not me. And when the option to have something that you can put on and listen all the way through, and it's yours, and it doesn't depend on whether Elon Musk is going to remove your ability to access the internet at some point in the future, I'll always do it. And I can still remember buying my first one, and I can still remember hearing the tracks that I wouldn't have otherwise heard. And that's the thing about albums for me, is that you hear the music you wouldn't otherwise have heard from that artist who was recording and putting that stuff together at the same time as the song that's got some airplay on the radio. But if you just listen to the radio, the favourite streamed songs, you never pick it up. I can remember hearing singles by Blondie off their album in 1978, and that was the first album that I bought with my own money. I can still remember coming back from town with it in my hand, and I wouldn't have got to hear the songs on that album that weren't singles if I hadn't bought it. And you know, I love that album. I still love that album. I still put it on. And so for me, you know, listening to Sunday Girl and buying the 7-inch vinyl, and then I'm going to get the album. Yeah, it's got 4 or 5 singles on it, but it's got, you know, loads of other tracks that you wouldn't have otherwise heard. And that's how I grew up listening to music. Is that and flicking through albums in record shops, just flicking through everything, absolutely everything that's in there, and finding bands that I'd never heard of, and I'd never heard any of their music, and I bought the record just because I liked what I saw on the album cover. And that's how I got into the Long Ryders, who we're gonna is the first album on the list. That is how I got into the Long Ryders. I'd never heard a single song of theirs, and I picked up their album in a record shop and looked at the front cover and there's these four American-looking dudes, and turning it round on the back and looking at what instruments are on the album and the song titles, and thought, oh, I'm going to have a go at it. I'll take that. And I loved it, and it's still one of my favourite albums, State of Our Union. It's still one of my favourite albums today from the 80s, and it's just fantastic. And they're still going. And they've got an album out this year called September November, and it's great. And if you get the chance to see them, when some of them come back to the UK, Sid Griffin lives over here, when some of them come back, you should take it, because they're a brilliant band. You know, they were the progenitors of Americana rock, and it was just so exciting to put it on and hear. So exciting, the music. Loved it, and I still love it. And we saw them on their tour, the album, and yeah, great band. So American country rock, punky, that political, that's what I like, and I love them.
Excellent. Well, that pretty much sums it up. So that is the
Long Ryders with September, November.
And hopefully we're going to play Elmer Gantry is
Alive and Well.
There we go. Album 2 on the list. And these are in no particular order. We haven't ordered these by, this is our top 10 or top 9 or whatever. These are just 9 of our favourite albums of 2023.
Yeah, and I think the next one we're picking up is the latest album from Morganway, East Anglian band.
Fantastic.
Certainly some of them in Norfolk and some over Cambridge way, and yeah, brilliant band, and are going great guns nationally now. Sold out UK tour this year. They're up for Best Group in the British Country Music Association Awards coming up, so vote for them if you get the chance.
And they played the most awesome set at
the
Deepdale Festival.
They did,
really
yeah.
did.
They headlined one of the nights at this year's festival, and they were fantastic. Yeah, they're really firing on all cylinders, and they are in the country sphere, but down the rockier end of the route. I know they get a lot of Fleetwood Mackie sort of stuff thrown at them, but actually I think their lineage is much more connected with a band called Heart. But yeah, they're their own band, their own sound, and fantastic. Yeah, so
I still don't understand how you can play the fiddle by when bouncing like that on a stage. That was an incredible feat, I have to say.
Yeah, it was a great gig, great band, and lovely people. Really lovely people, and it's great to be able to host them at Deepdale every now and again. And this year was one of those, and yeah. So the album is Back to Zero by Morganway.
And if you had to choose a track from that album, what would you choose?
I think I would probably choose the title track, Back to Zero. I like my upbeat stuff, and let's have that.
Breathing in the air. a long way down, so look ahead. Remember the words your mother said when life was on and dreams had legs, and we would run with them forever. Everywhere I look, I see a sign, I see a sign. I'm heading back to zero in my mind. Everywhere I turn, I see a light, I see a light. I'm heading back to zero one more time. And I don't believe I'm falling, but I know I won't rest. The feeling's never stalling, it keeps beating at my chest. And the music writes a melody, and it plays with effect. And it feels like salvation, feels like I'm heading back, heading back.
Number 3 in our list is
Invitation by Michele Stodart. And what a lovely piece of work this is. It's gorgeous, really gorgeous, heartfelt, deeply emotional, really, really wonderful songs, wonderful set of songs from, as it turns out, a really wonderful person who we got to know this year, having seen her at Moseley, having already booked her, obviously seen her before as part of the Magic Numbers, but got to know her as a person at Deepdale, and just so lovely.
Yeah,
So
absolutely
lovely,
wonderful.
incredibly talented artist, and it's a wonderful album, brilliant album. So yeah, go and grab it.
Yeah, she played twice at Deepdale Festival this year, which was fantastic. She joined Kathryn Williams on stage.
She
And then
did.
She played her own set on the Orchard stage.
Yeah,
so,
which went down really, really well, and unsurprisingly, because she's an incredibly wonderful artist.
Yeah, and she introduced me to manchego and honey, which I have to say is one of the greatest food things I've ever had. It's just brilliant. At 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, sitting in the kitchen, drinking wine and eating manchego and honey.
Yeah,
It was a very good start to the festival.
yes, fantastic.
Thank you, Michelle. It was lovely to meet you. Really lovely. So which track from that lovely album are you going to choose?
I think that we are choosing a Push and Pull from Invitation by Michelle.
Oh, I'm sat here on this platform, and the train is up and gone. They say home is where the heart is. That ain't where I'm going. And this cold breeze is blowing 'neath my jacket to my skin. There's a final destination, I just can't see where that is. Oh, now mama dear, she sang to me, the road and you seem stronger now than ever. I know I'm used to being back here on my own, but it doesn't mean that I don't always want you right here. Right here. Well, been living from this suitcase since I can't remember when. Oh, the band has taken me places that only dreams can land.
So next up on the list, we have two artists who also played at the festival, yes?
Yes, unsurprisingly, a lot of these artists played at the festival, actually.
It's about 50-50.
Yeah, but yeah, so this is an album of largely traditional folk music by Aaron Horlock and Nick Goode. Aaron is a member of Man The Lifeboats. They played on their own accounts this year, the two of them. Really, really strong set in the courtyard, and it was so uplifting in terms of getting people up to dance, and they weren't dancing that I thought I would break my Achilles just to get people up and dancing. And I did. And it's still a bit sore, to be honest. But yeah, great album, great set at the festival, and the album's called Shipwrights. And yeah, it's a mix of self-penned and traditional songs, mostly traditional, to be honest. And that's, I was going to say it's my other musical love, but it isn't, because I love all sorts of music.
You do love all sorts of music.
I have, trended down the folk route over the last God knows how many years, and yeah, lovely, really good. So accordion and fiddle with some guitar, mandolin, really, really great album. I love it, really love it. I had it on the car over here. I had it on in the car over here this morning, and yeah, it's great stuff.
Excellent. And from that lovely album, which song would you be hoping to include?
Well, I would choose a song called Homeward Bound. It's a maritime song. It's about sailors returning home from the sea. But if you play it at this time of year, it actually becomes a bit of a Christmas song. And so I would definitely play Homeward Bound by Aaron Horlock and Nick Goode.
Not a black wool docks we bearded due to Sook and Sal and Kitty too. Our anchors weighed, our sails unfurled. We are bound to sail the watery world. Huzzah, we are homeward bound. Huzzah, we are homeward bound. Now the wind blows hard from the east nor'east. Our ship will sail 10 knots at least. The purser will our wants supply, and whilst we've grog we'll never say die. Huzzah, we are homeward bound. Huzzah, we are homeward bound. Now our 3 years it is out, it's very near time we backed about. When we're home and do get free, oh won't we have a jolly spree. Huzzah, we are homeward bound. Huzzah, we are homeward bound. And now we haul into the docks where all those pretty girls come in flocks. One to the other they will say, oh here comes.
So the next album, I think, is one of yours.
Well, I thought I'd better put one of my choices in.
Yeah,
because I was looking through all of the albums I've been listening to quite a lot recently, and most of them, although I probably discovered them in 2023, a lot of them were released last year.
Yeah.
Or I have seen them. I've seen the band last year, and so therefore kind of bought the album then, and kind of have been thinking about it quite a lot since. So there are various bands, but this band has been described as American indie supergroup, which is always a bizarre one in my mind. Okay. But they're called Boygenius, and they've had quite a lot of play on Six Music. An awful lot of play on Six Music, and it's one of those albums where I've heard lots of different songs from the album without really putting them all together. You've just got the radio in the background, and I have to admit, I thought, because I'm sure I misheard, that Phoebe Waller-Bridge was in the band, but it isn't. It's Phoebe Bridges who's got a very different career and a much more musical career.
Yes.
But yeah, it's just one of those things where you hear something in the background, you like the song, and then you hear some conversation, and you you hear it wrong. And anyway, but I really like the album. It's the songs are all quite different, and I think it's just a really interesting song. And interestingly, Phoebe Bridges, who is one of the three in the band, there's Julian Baker and Lucy Dacus. I think it's Dacus. Phoebe Bridges was also involved with another one of my favourite albums by Arlo Parks this year, which I didn't realise until I was sort of looking up information about stuff. And yes, so she obviously has an incredible pedigree and done some amazing stuff. But this it's just one of those where lots of different songs from the album have got into my psyche, and I do a lot of Shazamming. So when I'm listening to Six Music or listening to anything else, or I'm in somewhere weird, I'm constantly Shazamming albums and songs, going, "Oh, I wonder what that is. What that is." Sometimes I discover they're in my collection, and I just haven't listened to it for ages, which is quite nice to know. I always have to check, but other times, like these guys, songs have just sort of stuck, and I've kind of heard them. So if we are allowed to play one of their tracks, then I am going to play Afraid of Heights. But if you haven't heard Boygenius, you definitely need to have a listen. It's fantastic. And the album is called The Record. Number 6 on the list is one of our favourite artists. A friend of Deepdale, I think we could describe.
I think we can safely say that Georgia is a friend of Deepdale, and we are huge fans and friends of her music and the music that she is associated with. But the album that's come out this year from her is her solo project, which the album is called Harry's Seagull by Georgia Shackleton. And it's an album of traditional folk songs, and I think we can safely call Georgia the collector of Norfolk and East Anglian folk songs. At the current time, there's no one who's doing more work in collecting, unearthing, preserving, reinterpreting, and now recording and getting out there this music. And I think it's really, really important. And it's not just really, really important. The songs are really lovely. Gorgeous, gorgeous voice and fiddle. And it's an album that, if you're interested in traditional music, and especially in the east of England, you should have. They've done lots of work, the Shackleton Trio, and with their albums, they're always showcasing traditional songs and songs that they've written, Georgia's written, based in East Anglia, and taking an East Anglian tale and putting it to music. But this album is taking songs that Georgia's found, collected, and brought to life again. And I think it's fantastic. And we went to the album launch gig, me and you.
Yep.
And she played a set at Deepdale Festival this year, and she played a set prior to that up at Deepdale when the project was first coming together. And we've been able to see the development of those songs being performed live, and the growing confidence and how they're being presented and delivered. Really, really great. If you get a chance to see Georgia performing these songs, do go and listen and grab the album. Harry Seagull by Georgia Shackleton.
And which song would you like to play off that album?
Well, I think we're going to play a little short one on the album, which is Rambling Robin. We could have played any of them. I love them all. And Rambling Robin, I think we're going to hear.
When we went to see the album launch in the Octagon Chapel in Norwich, which is the most amazingly bizarre venue, like beautiful venue. It's would we work out 300 years old, that place, and something like that, 1748 or something. It was built in. It's a lovely space, really lovely space, and their music just was so fitting for that space as well. I think that was the beautiful thing about it. It worked really well. Yeah,
really good sound. And we'll give a little nod to Aaron here. Aaron on sound for them. He produces a lovely sound.
Excellent. That's great. And occasionally he's allowed to play on stage with Georgia as well, just occasionally.
He is, great guitarist. We love Aaron.
When first I left childhood I came to a man, the nation to ramble oh soon I began. A wandering thought would come to my mind, and they christened me Rambling Robin. Over hills and mountains I used to go, I slept in the wood in the frost and the snow. When no anxiety came to my mind, content it was Rambling Robin. But the wind and the rain, they got me quite cold. My parents before me both were very old. My mother did weep, my father did cry, for the loss of their Rambling Robin. When 10 long years were over and past, my poor mother's sorrow was ended at last. From mountain to fen my father did go, in search of his Rambling Robin. And when my folly had come to an end, to my own village I did attend. The neighbours told me my parents were dead, with the loss of their Rambling Robin. Oh, now where shall I wander, where shall I go? I'm so oppressed with sorrow and woe. I'll sit down and cry till the day that I die. There's an end to Rambling Robin.
So number 7 in our list.
Jason Isbell with his band, the 400 Unit, and their album for this year, which is Weathervanes. He's a big artist over in America, pretty big over here, and he's just the master of Americana country songwriting. Just glorious songwriting. Ever since he's been putting out solo albums. And so whenever one comes along, you just got to grab it, really. And every song, and there's a lot of songs on this album. It's a single album, but there's a lot of songs on here, and it's great. He's got such a superb command of language and songwriting, putting words in that just are the perfect word to stick in the verse. His songwriting economy is brilliant, in my opinion, and his guitar playing is awesome. And stick them together, and you've got a great album. And
a whole new one on me, so it's very nice to have.
He's got a series of either solo albums, just him, or with the 400 Unit, which has been more recent, and they're all fantastic, absolutely fantastic. You if you want to get into sort of Americana country, then he's your guy.
And if you have to choose a song from that, depending on whether we hear from the agents to allow us. That's a difficult one. I think I might choose Save the World. So that's Save the World by Jason Isbell and the 400 Unit.
Off Weathervanes. Great album. Don't think I'm ever going to be able to book him to play at Deepdale.
Well, you never know. Some of these artists quite like, these smaller, intimate gigs. You just never know.
Yeah, it would be a small, intimate gig. He's amazing, though.
Well, we appear to have missed out on Slipknot, who are doing his... one, I'm not sure, are Deepdale's market, but two, they're just doing stadiums now, apparently. So we may be too small for them.
I don't think they would quite have been on my list, luckily. But Jason Isbell is on my list, but I think that, I'd be, you'll be able to blow me over with a feather if we ever manage to have Jason play. That'd be amazing.
So call out, Jason. You're very welcome at Deepdale.
Yeah.
Very welcome at Deepdale.
We move on to a band who applied to play at the festival, Deepdale Festival, and I hadn't heard of them before. They came from up north, and they were. I like their sound, like their music, so booked them to play, and I think they were one of the surprises, one of the delights of the festival for people.
Well, there were a lot of delights.
There were,
yes.
I would agree there were a lot this year. But yes, so the band is Bring Me the Hearts, and the album is Love Yourself First, which is a great little sentiment, isn't it? Love yourself first. And the record, and I have the vinyl, which they very kindly gave me as it was being launched at the festival, and they very kindly gave me the vinyl, and I still have my turntable and I still play vinyl, so I'm very pleased to have it. And it's a gorgeous album. The harmonies on the album are so lush. It's a real sound of sort of West Coast US soulful. It's just lovely. It's really lovely. It's fantastic, really fantastic. Vocals, incredible vocals, and then with Joe on keys and also on mandolin, that's the sort of dominant sound of the music. But if you think West Coast US, and really great, really, really great. Love it. Love to have them back at Deepdale again because it was a superb performance, and it's a really, really super album. I like all of them actually, but I think if you listen to a track called Blackberries, I really love that. I love Drive. I think that we're going to play a track called Watersigns, which
possibly,
is
yes,
also good. But yeah, any of those would be fantastic. So that is an album called Love Yourself First by Bring Me the Hearts, and just gorgeous. You can just really sink into this album. Turn it up nice and loud because the harmonies and the keys work. Just unbelievable.
Excellent.
Really good.
As everybody who has ever listened to this top albums of the year would expect, there's always a cheat at the end. This is a very slight cheat, but it is a cheat.
It is still a cheat, yeah.
But we love this artist dearly, and very, very happy for her to be our cheat. So tell me, who is our cheat at the end?
Our cheat is Polly Paulusma, and it's her most recent album, which came out as sort of 2 albums, and I'm claiming it because the second album, which is an album of demos really and early versions of the songs, came out in early 2023, but the main studio album came out a bit earlier, in 2022. I'll say that really quickly and then it doesn't count as a cheat. But yeah, so the album, the studio produced album, as it were, with the full version of the songs, is called The Pivot on Which the World Turns.
That's a great name of an album.
By Polly Paulusma. And if you haven't got it and you were at the festival, you're crazy. Absolutely crazy. Because if I did have to pick one album that is in the car and at home, because I've actually got the vinyl as well as the CD, and will always go on, it would be this one at the moment. It's an album of love. It's an album of love for music and language and poetry, and how you can put all of those things together to demonstrate how your life and your family and your relationships and work and hold you together as a person and develop you as a person. I just think it's one of the most gorgeous collection of songs I've ever heard, and it is it's sort of life-changing really, listening to this album. There are songs on it that just resonate with how people live their lives, I think. And so, yeah, anyway, you should get it.
Anybody would think you quite like this album.
I love it. I love it. It's got one of the songs of my life on it, I think. And I know we asked Polly which song she would maybe like us to play, and it's the same song that I had already chosen to play off this, and it's a song called Back of Your Hand. And I love it. I absolutely love it. I love her songwriting. I love her words, her choice of words, and she's a poet, because how you can feel the language rolling around in her brain and her mouth as it comes out. You can hear and feel those words attaching to emotion as they go round and as they emerge. You can hear it, and it's just fantastic, absolutely fantastic. We could have chosen loads of songs off this. Bracklesham Bay, I love that. Big Sky, the collaboration with Kathryn on the album. Luminary is a song that you want to listen to if you really want to pick up and a boost to your confidence as a person in how you live your life. Just listen to it, and the whole album is just full of that lush, gorgeous melodies and words. So yeah,
excellent.
Go and get it.
Just remind us what's that album.
So the album is called The Pivot on Which the World Turns by Polly Paulusma,
and we're going to play Back of Your Hand.
We're going to play Back of Your Hand, which is on one level it is a sort of a chorus driven sort of upbeats, but oh god, it's just got so much to say. As has the album. I love it. I really, really love it. So yeah, go grab it.
I've been a trailer
Well, thank you for that, man. 9 fantastic albums, very lovely. And if anybody hasn't got all of those 9, then they have got some shopping to be doing, clearly. And you'll find links on our website. Having mentioned Polly as our final album of the year, it fits very well to mention of one of our favourite Christmas albums, which is by Kathryn Williams and is called Midnight Chorus, which we have mentioned previously on this because it is a beautiful piece of work and really, really stunning. And for anybody who saw Kathryn perform both with Polly in Polly's set and then Polly with Kathryn during Kathryn's set at the Deepdale Festival on Thursday night, they know how well those two work together, and I'm pleased to say they've been collaborating an awful lot more through their tour, which they've been doing. And I believe that there's lots of stuff in works at the moment, which is very exciting. So
Polly's just been recording new material, and Kathryn is recording a new album, which I think is going to be worked on next year and out in 25. So there's stuff, and the Christmas album is now in the car, where I seem to be spending a lot of my time at the minute, driving to and from family in various states. So yes.
So that is Midnight Chorus by Kathryn Williams, which is our Christmas album choice.
Don't forget Carol Ann Duffy.
Carol Ann Duffy, that's very true. Very true.
Yes, absolutely. So
yes.
Kathryn and Carol Ann Duffy.
Yeah, it's a beautiful piece of work. But we have a very lovely addition to our podcast. Thank you to the lovely people from Man The Lifeboats who put on the most stonking gig the other month at Deepdale, the end of November, in the Brick Barn, what has now become pretty much an annual visit to Deepdale, which is much loved by all of our team and also by a very large proportion of our customers, our regular customers. And they have allowed us very kindly to play their Christmas tune, which is Whisky for Christmas, which we feel is very suitable, and particularly with a man sitting opposite me here in the sitting room who does love a great whiskey, and particularly over Christmas. So it's a great song. I think you quite enjoyed that gig, didn't you? You danced away quite a bit, even though you'd broken your Achilles.
Well, I hadn't quite broken it, luckily. It just keeps being very sore. But yes, I love their stuff. I think they're a great band. They work very hard. They've been out on a tour. Touring for bands is a tough thing to be doing still at this time, out in small independent venues. And before we finish, let's give a shout out to small independent venues who are out there trying to survive. And recently lost one down in Bath called Moles, and it's tough. Everyone is on really, really thin margins for everything that they do in the music world. Everyone. And so if there is a Christmas message for music lovers out there who are connected to Deepdale, it is please get out there and support artists who are playing at your local independent venue, and support the venue, because everyone's trying to continue to keep the depth of cultural output and cultural things, including music, and can't be done unless people keep supporting them. And you do it by going out to see them, you do it by buying their albums
directly from them
if you can. Happy Christmas, everybody.
Happy Christmas, everybody. Fantastic to have you listening. Fantastic. Thank you for all your support and input over the last year with the podcast. Thank you for joining me for the last episode of the podcast for this year.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you, ma'am. And thank you for providing lots of really interesting artists for me to talk to on the podcast, which has been fantastic fun. If you want to listen back to any of the podcasts, then head to anywhere that you get your podcasts from. Just search Deepdale Podcast. You can find previous years where we've done our top albums of the year, the December episodes, but you can also listen back to lots of interviews with artists festival and post-festival over the last 2 or 3 years, plus lots of other interesting chat and interviews that we've done. Yeah, please do listen, please enjoy, and keep sending us your suggestions, your recordings. And we leave you with our Christmas tune, Whisky for Christmas by Man The Lifeboats. Have a fantastic Christmas and New Year, and we hope to see you all in 2024.
Lovely. Cheers, everybody.
Well, that was a ramshackle mash-up palaver, not done by halves or quarters or thirds.